Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men. We will graduate players. And we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Been in college baseball for a while now, but I've never experienced anything like 12th man.
The other schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
this one's special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
The epitome of what this team has done, right? Gavin homers, Jace homers, Braden homers, Chris Cortez, 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies. All right, a very difficult day here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Difficult because we were hoping to celebrate a championship today, and but a lot of us obviously very, very disappointed after such a successful season. We'll break it all down here on the program throughout. We're joined by Olin Buchanan, who is at the home studio, the home Rollo Insurance Studio in College Station. OB, I know you were hanging out with the good people there at the Angry Elephant. Difficult day, a game that they did give me hope until the very, very end, OB.
Yeah, gosh, you know, you can go back and look at what if Appel gets the tag down on the guy that was, should have been out trying to score. Too many strikeouts, which has been a problem a lot of the year. I think they struck out 14 times, leave 9 on base, all those things. Yeah, it's true. All those things are true. A home run that barely cleared, all those things are true. Fact is, I was disappointed last night, still am, but man, what a great season. How much fun was it? Has it been? I wish they could have closed it out, had opportunities, but the fact of the matter is Tennessee was a better baseball team. I give them credit for that and say, hopefully A&M comes back next year and, makes that one or two plays that it's just one or two plays separated the difference between winning and losing last night. And, maybe they make them next time. But, man, a phenomenal ride, without a doubt.
Yeah, phenomenal ride that, look, I kept on thinking, is this going to be the inning? Is this going to be the inning? And they pitched so well the last 2 games. Tennessee did a brilliant job pitching. And then in the 8th inning, you get a couple runs. And then you get a couple of runs in the 9th inning. You're thinking, maybe one more hit. And that's the text message I got from several people. Yeah. Like, man, just one more play. One more play. It wasn't meant to be for this season, unfortunately. And it look, watching the reaction in the dugout and, like Aggie fans everywhere. And let me go ahead and tell you, I highly suggest to people to mute, ignore, and block people, because there are a lot of people out there that enjoy the misery of other programs, right? And enjoy finishing, 32nd in the country, but telling you, you didn't win again. And that's fine. You want to be a loser and do that, that's fine. And I get it, it's all part of rivalries and whatnot, but I have exercised my mute button quite often. I got a dear friend who's a Longhorn. Dear friend, my old co-host, Raheel. Our friendship is not based on, is there some ribbing from time to time, but there's also a timing for it. Mm-hmm. And we both know when and when not to do things.
Right.
And you know what? Today, the focus is on a phenomenal season that we will look back on the way we look at 99, the way we look at many of those great years. And this is the best Aggie baseball team we've ever seen. 3 outs away, or 1 run away in game 3, and 9 outs away in game 2.
Look, again, I can break it down to say, how many times did you have runners in scoring position and you just couldn't get the big hit?
Yeah.
And then, was Aschenbeck at his best? No, but could you expect him to be? I mean, you could hope. He was good, and then and then one got away. And the team that led the nation in home runs got one more. Again, we talk about how close the play was at the plate on, I can't even remember the guy from Tennessee who scored, but how close that play was at the plate. If you get that tag on, maybe everything else happens and maybe we're still playing, right? You can go back and look at what could have been, what might have been. Gosh, here's where we let it go. Here's where it got away. Tennessee made some great plays, and sometimes the other team is just a little bit better than you. And I think this is the case.
Numbers, maybe it's a little bit. Like, they won the extra game.
Yeah.
They had the extra run, right? But if you look at all the runs throughout the series, you look at
I think the runs were equal.
Very even series. And it was a championship 15-round boxing match, right? To the very end.
Yep.
You thought they had a chance until the very, very end, OB.
Yep. They were Ali and we were Frazier. It was the Thrilla in Omaha. But that doesn't mean it wasn't great. And again, I'm disappointed. I wanted them to, I was with 500 of my closest friends at the Angry Elephant last night, and it was a great atmosphere, and it was loud, and it was fun. And when A&M started, looked like they were mounting a comeback. It was frenetic. And then it was, then it was sad. But and that's the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be that way. But I'm not going to let the disappointment linger. I'm going to say, look, I was disappointed, but and I can look at things and say, what if this has been a little, just make this play here and make this play there. Tennessee made them. A&M didn't, make the key big play. And I'm just going to say that I like the direction of the program under Jim Schlossnagle, and I expect to have another chance in the not too distant future. And maybe that second chance or that next chance will come out winners.
OB, and I won't make excuses, right? That, had Braden Montgomery been there, or look, would they have helped? Absolutely. But this team, they found a way. That's what made them so special this year. They found a way. Would we have loved to have Braden and James Tadeo? 1,000% we would have. But the legend of Caden Kent doesn't emerge if it isn't for
probably not
Braden's injury. And his numbers were Braden-esque throughout the experience in Omaha.
Phenomenal. He hit when it's over with, probably, I don't know what he hit but it's probably around 450, with some RBIs. And, he played great. And what do you get out of him if he had not been thrust into the lineup, right? Do you even make it to Omaha if he wasn't playing? Because he led you in a lot of ways. Would you love to have him, though? Absolutely. But I know you're not using that as an excuse, David. I know you're not using that. But I'm saying, but you got to this point without those guys. And he came down to one game and really just a couple of innings when you just didn't get the big hit when you needed it. Like I said, the only take I have, I'm disappointed, but I'm not distraught, because Tennessee, the two teams that went out there, Tennessee was a little bit better, and I'm just so impressed with that Texas A&M team. Look, when they got down, 6-1? They didn't quit. Yep. They came back and cut it to 6-5. And again, you were in a position to maybe tie it or maybe win it, and it just didn't work out for you. So I applaud the fight in this team and everything about them, and I wish the final game had ended differently, but it didn't. But I love the direction of the team, and I love that I believe that we're going to have many more opportunities under Jim Schlossnagle.
Yeah, let's listen to Schloss's opening statement yesterday, giving props to Tennessee and reflecting on a difficult day and also a phenomenal season.
First of all, congratulations to University of Tennessee. What an awesome team. Great series, 60 wins. Wow. congratulations to Danny White, Tony and his staff, Josh, one of my former players. Excited for him. Great series. Look at it. Same number of hits, same number of errors. Probably the difference in the ball game was timely hits, and some of their hits were homers and ours weren't. But we got the tie and run to the plate in the ninth, which I knew we would, regardless of the score, and it's a tough one to swallow. Even when you make it this far, everybody wants to win their last game. So couldn't be more proud of our team, and honored to be at Texas A&M and honored to be a part of the 12th man. It's been a special experience every year.
Special season for us all. One that we're going to look. This was going to sting for a while, and it may sting forever, right? Like this may be, oh man, had things gone differently in the 7th inning in Game 2, had we've gotten one more hit in the 9th inning. But one of the things that OB that makes, I think, sports so special is the personalities and the characters that make up a team. And this team, just like our basketball team, has some really good dudes, right? Some guys, and our football team does too, has some people that like you just want to root for in life, right? Like Jace Lavalette is a likable person, regardless of him being a potential top 5 pick in not this upcoming year, next year in the MLB draft. He's just a good dude. Justin Lampkin pitched his butt off yesterday, and I'm proud of the way he went. Even though Christian Moore got the first one, I thought he battled back after that. These are some good guys. Ali Camarillo. You go through the lineup, you see personalities. Hayden Schott obviously comes to mind. The way they interact with each other, the fans, with our company, TexAgs, just really likable people that you root for, and you want to see them do great, and you want to see them do great beyond the baseball field.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all of that. Good guys that it was fun. They made it fun. And I think, quite frankly, I've been around long enough I don't know how many times I've heard people lament the 1989 Super Regional, right? When you let that get away from you against LSU, right? It was 89, right? And so I think this is going to replace that as the one you look back on and lament. But it still doesn't mean that you don't look back at that 89 team with respect and honor and all those things and admiration and how great the season was. I saw somebody say it's not a great season unless you win it. No, I don't believe that. It's not a championship season unless you win it all. But this was a great season, and it was a great team. And I think it'll until they win the national championship, it'll be looked at as probably as the best team A&M's ever had.
Yeah, no doubt about that. If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, tell us what your thoughts are on what went wrong, what went right, and how you'll remember this team. You can do that multiple ways. You can call us up, 979-693-1150. You can call us. You can text us either way. You can talk to us on the YouTube page. You can talk to us on TexAgs.com, and, of course, on our Twitter handles. We'd love to go back and forth and just look back at the year it was. And thanks so much for joining us on this ride, by the way, because the covers that Richard Zane, Ryan Brauninger, Jamie Maury, Kay Nagley, Katie Smith, Billy Liucci all did in Omaha was phenomenal. So thank you very much to them. Let's go around the room and say hello to the people. We go behind the glass and say hi to Nick Savage. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning.
What's up, man?
I'll just pretty much the same feelings as y'all. Of course, it's disappointing. You wish it turned out differently, but I'm trying to look at it on the positive side, like y'all have been saying, and the rest of the baseball staff here at TexAgs. Greatest A&M baseball team ever, and the numbers don't lie. That's exactly what it shows you. 30-0 in non-conference, broke the team home run record that Brawny called they'd tie at the beginning of the season, but they smashed it by about 10, I think, a little over 10. Just the amazing turnaround with the pitching staff and pitching coach Max Weiner. So just nothing but arrows up, as tough as that is to say today with the loss, but you just got to stay positive. I know that's what y'all are trying to do as well.
Well, I mean, look, a couple things about that. You mentioned the home runs. OB, this is a team, and part of the reason is because the competition got bigger, the stakes got bigger, but they didn't hit a lot of home runs the last month of the year. I mean, Jace hit one, Gavin may have hit a couple. Like, Obviously Braden was out of the lineup for a big portion of it, but a team that was smashing homers, and yet they were still there in the top of the ninth inning with a chance without doing the long ball. I mean, in fact, their first run yesterday was because of small ball.
Yeah, I think Coach Schlossnagle said, difference was, some of their hits were home runs. Yep. I mean, and again, is it just me, or did that last home run that gave them the 5-1 lead or something, did that just barely get over? I mean, or was it It seemed from where I was sitting, it seemed like it was really close, but it got over. When I look back, look, that just shows, what a team they are, because they could, when they started having a power outage, they found other ways. The pitching got better. When they started, when the power numbers declined, the pitching got better. And again, they would find other ways. And I've heard Schlossnagle say that before. You can't rely on always hitting the home runs to win. If you do that, there's going to be certain games where, it's just not there. And so you're going to lose. He's talked about it. You have to be able to win in multiple ways to have a chance. And you know what? They were able to win in multiple ways. They just weren't able to win the last game.
Yeah. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Who do we have working there today? Good morning, person that I can't see.
Carson Stein.
Carson Stein, the Steiniac?
Yeah.
Carson, what's up, buddy?
Morning, David. How are you doing?
Are you really asking?
I kind of figured, but just being polite.
Not doing so well.
One thing I wanted to get into, yes, I know it was a tough outing last night, but looking towards the future, you got guys like Gavin Grahovic, Caden Sorrell that are only just freshmen that probably haven't even played their best baseball yet. So still a lot of good things looking forward to in the future of Aggie baseball.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. I know we got some good text messages as well. Let's get to it.
We got one from Chase in Houston saying, last night was the definition of a baseball game. It came down to the little things, and the one thing you can say is the Aggies fought to the end, and that's all that you can ask for.
Well, you can ask for them to win, but you can be proud of the effort and the fight that they gave.
Yeah, I mean, and so maybe I'm not. I think fighting to the end is price of admission of playing sports. That's how I look at it. But yes, you know what they did? Not only did they fight, they gave us hope until the end. Absolutely. I expect them to fight to the end because, I mean, that's why we play the game, right? But they gave us hope. The way they played inspired me, and that's maybe more of how I take it, OB.
There was a play, I can't remember what inning it was. They had guys on base, and I can't even remember who was hitting it because again, I'm not keeping a book like maybe I should have, but somebody with runners on just rifled one at that I thought was going to be a double down the right field line, and the first baseman was able to stab it. And you're like, I thought they were going to score a couple of runs. Do you remember that play? And
it was Caden Sorrell.
It was Sorrell, man. It was a shot, and that right there maybe talk about the difference. A play, you hit it so hard that 99% of the time, or maybe 90% of the time, that's going to be a double. And the guy at Tennessee, it was just one of those hard hits that the guy didn't have to move.
No doubt about that. Hey, I know that there's a looming topic that people are wanting to talk about, and we're going to hear from Floss in the next segment, but we'll probably really wait until Liucci joins us here in the 10 o'clock hour to go deep into that. But we do at least want to play the soundbite that everyone's talking about. We'll kind of give us some context, and then we'll move on from that. So I know that's a big topic. Our number is 979-693-1150. OB, when you think about this season, you think you're going to think about the what ifs, or are you going to think about like months from now, years from now? You're going to think about the what ifs, or are you going to be thinking more about like how special it was?
How special it was. Yeah, the what ifs are going to come out, and the what ifs are going to be part of how special it was. But, I watched games as a fan this year for the first time, and I can't remember how long, right? And the Rattling Bog and the music when Ali Camarillo would come to the plate, and the shots of Jeff Kent eating one sunflower seed just won while looking always upset and not really, showing any emotion until his son does, hits a grand slam or, the injuries are going to factor into that. But like Nick said, the change of the pitching staff, how it was just completely revamped and all those things, you'll think back on that year and say, man, what an amazing ride. You don't ride the roller coaster and get at the end and say, man, that last, that last loop wasn't that great. No, you said, man, if it's a great ride, you said, man, that was awesome. Let's just do it again.
All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back and we'll hear a little bit more from Schloss. We'll get to your text messages at 8:35. Richard Zane will be joining us right now. If you're looking for a reason to move back to Aggie Land so you can go to Olson and hang out and see all that greatness that is the baseball team, or you just want to move back to town because you love the community, well, you need a job probably, right? And why not reach out to the Association of Former Students that are looking to hire professionals in several departments. They've been doing it for a while. They have departments open positions open in fundraising, former student programs, marketing, you name it. They're the premier alumni association and the oldest organization serving A&M in support of that Aggie network. They play a part in every Aggie story from howdy to key. Don't miss the opportunity to help out the association with Howdy Socials, Aggie Ring Day, class reunions, Aggie Muster, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies those Aggie core values of integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, and of course, excellence, all in support of that worldwide Aggie network. If you're interested in joining the team or sharing with someone that would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/association jobs to get more information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students.
All right, welcome back into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour, presented by the warehouse at CC Creations. Appreciate everybody listening in this Tuesday morning as we reflect on a successful Texas A&M baseball season, the most successful, that did not result in a championship. And there's a lot of other storylines out there. OB, I don't want to spend a ton of time of it until we get with Billy, but the elephant in the room. Social media reports about Texas going after some of the big fish in college baseball, including Tony Vitello and Jim Schlossnagle. It was all over social media. And then some people will say, well, that's not real media. Well, there is real media digging around that story. And Richard Zane, who works for us, asked a tough question at the end of a press conference. Mm-hmm. I applaud Richard for doing his job. I know some people on the boards are a little disappointed.
They're sadly mistaken.
Sorry, guys.
They're sadly mistaken.
We are a fan site. We root for Texas A&M, but there is a journalism arm to what we do here. And so I'm going to let you guys listen to the question and the answer. Obi and I will just talk about it briefly, and then we'll wait for Billy to really go into depth on it. Here's Richard Zane yesterday. The last question of the press conference to Jim Schlossnagle.
I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind. That's unfair to talk about something like that. That'd be like you asking Montgomery if he's going to sign in the draft. But I understand you got to ask the question, but I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I've poured every ounce of my soul in this job, and I've given this job every single ounce I can possibly give it. So write that.
Coach, thank you very much.
Yeah, I've been on the bad list before, and I guess I think the question was absolutely pertinent, and I don't think it was a selfish question to ask. I think if he had not asked, somebody else would have. It's out there. It doesn't matter that it's Texas. If it was Arkansas or Florida or anybody else, the question would need to be asked. And quite frankly, I believe that when you have when you sign up to be the head coach of a major program, that dealing with speculation and answering the questions like that are part of the deal. When you have a university that just approved $80 million for stadium renovations, you're probably a seven-figure salary. When you have people that are driving to Omaha without tickets to support your team, when you're talking about building a bigger stadium so you can get all those more people that will support the team, when people are emotionally and financially invested in the team, and then there's this actually reports, not just speculation. Now, they can be erroneous reports, but there's reports out there that you're going to go to Texas and that the athletic director who's pursuing you is your previous athletic director. And there's all these things to say, hey, are you going to, and then Richard asked that question with such class and grace. He never mentioned Texas. And he actually said, look, I know it's a tough time, but I think the reaction to say, well, that's a selfish question. I don't agree with that at all. I don't think that's a selfish question at all. I think it's more selfish not to answer. You know what I would have liked? And I interpret the answer to be, hey, I left my family and to take this job and never leave, and my mind's never changed. I interpret that to mean, hey, I'm at Texas A&M for the long. I'm not interested in that job. But what I would have loved to have heard was, I left my family at Texas A&M, and I am not leaving Texas A&M for any job. Just make it that clear. David, you were with me one time when LSU was pursuing Jimbo Fisher, and he gave this long answer, and I said, excuse me, can you say unequivocally that you will be Texas A&M's coach next year, right? Just let's get to the point. I think to just ignore all the speculation, all the rampant rumors, and all the reports and things like that, to expect that to be ignored, I think is unrealistic. And again, nobody likes to deal with those things, but I think when you sign up to be the head coach of a major program like that sometimes you have to just be expected to take tough questions, and I'd like to see coaches answer the questions with the same grace and class that I thought Richard asked with it.
Well, and again, I just wanted to briefly touch on this and get more with it with OB, with Billy, I should say.
That's just my opinion.
On the YouTube, go ahead, OB.
Yeah, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Olin, is it a journalist's responsibility to ask questions? What if the job at Oregon State was open? Do you ask him about that one? If
there are rampant reports that he is going to, that Oregon State is pursuing him, I just said it doesn't matter what program. If there are rampant reports that they're interested in him and that he may go, then yeah, I would. Just like, remember the whole time Lincoln Riley was asked about going to LSU, and he said, I absolutely will not be the coach at LSU. But then the next morning, he took the job at USC.
Well, let's do this. Let's just move on, and we'll talk with Billy about it. Look, people have opinions on timing. I think reporters, universally, were in support of the question. So, and we work in the industry. So.
Well, in the industry that this, David. Now it's different at TexAgs because we're a different animal. But in the industry I grew up in, if you were the reporter that would not ask that question in that scenario or in that setting, you would be replaced by a reporter who will ask that question in that setting.
Yeah. People questioning the timing of it.
Timing was fine.
I don't have a hit with him on Monday.
The timing was fine.
I understand the questions. I understand the questions from the audience, and I understand why people would question it. But the timing is the timing. And they asked Jim Harbaugh. Didn't they ask him at the end of winning a championship, like literally as he's walking off the field? So, all right, we'll move on from that. Right now, ground shuttle time. If you are traveling and you're in the Bryan College Station area and you've got some work, some business, and maybe in Dallas, maybe wherever you may be, and you need to get to Bush and you don't want to deal with the hassle. I had to deal with it recently because I had a super early flight. It was ridiculous, right? You want to use ground shuttle because they'll do the driving for you. They'll get you there. You don't have to worry about the parking at Bush, which is terrible. You don't have to worry about drive. You can just relax. They are the place to go when you're trying to get to Bush out there. Enjoy the ride, catch up on emails, read a book while your shuttle driver takes you all the way to Bush Airport. They are office right next to Castro de Brazil. They run 9 shuttle times on weekdays every hour and a half, and then 5 shuttle times on weekends. Exit for business travelers and commuters. They also have a charter service that will go anywhere in Texas, door to door, hassle-free to get your group to sporting events or any concerts, corporate meetings, you name it. They seat up to 14 passengers. They're a local company, and they want to take care of you in the Bryan College Station area. It's easy to book your shuttle online, groundshuttle.com. That is groundshuttle.com. Call them up, 855-303-4415, 855-303-4415, Ground Shuttle. Let them do the driving. All right, welcome back into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Let's go to the hotline. Richard Zane is joining us to reflect on a fun baseball season that did not end the way we wanted it to. But Richard, first off, great reporting this weekend and the entire time in Omaha. I'm sure you're ready to get back to College Station.
That's an understatement, Nuño. My goodness. I think this has been the longest I've ever been away from home. I can only think of one other trip that I've ever taken at any point in my life where I've been away for over 10 days. And we left Wednesday morning on the 11th, I think June 11th at 4:30 a.m. We pulled out of the TexAgs parking lot. And right now we're currently somewhere in the middle of Kansas on the Kansas Turnpike headed back to Aggie land. So very much looking forward to being back at home and back in College Station.
You did a great job up there, Richard, you and Ryan both. So what really, when as you come home, what's going to stand out in your mind when you think back about this whole experience?
That's a good question, OB, and I'll obviously pass along your warm wishes to Bronny as he sits in the driver's seat next to us, getting us home. I think it's a little early for me to answer that question, to be honest with you. The sting of last night is definitely something that's going to, live on and stick with me for a little while. And I think Olin and Nuño and hopefully everybody out there listening, I feel like I can be as objective as possible when I'm sitting in a press box covering a Texas A&M game, but at the same time, this is my alma mater. I have 2 degrees from Texas A&M University, and I would have loved nothing more than to see the Aggies win a national championship last night in my favorite sport. So I tried as best I could to keep those emotions and that heartbreak bottled up last night until we finished doing our jobs. But right now on the way home, that certainly stings. When I have more time to look back on it and think about it, I hope that I will be able to think about how blessed I was to come up here and stay for 2 weeks. I know I complained about how long the trip was a little bit earlier in the hit, but man, this is the longest time Texas A&M has ever been here. And they played some incredible baseball despite being shorthanded without Braden Montgomery, without Shane Sadeo. We saw Jace Lavalette tweak a hamstring early in the stay in Omaha. He gutted it out. We know guys like Teddy Burton, Hayden Schott, Gavin Grahovac, Jackson Appel, and so many others have played it less than 100%. And I think, when I sit back and think about the 2024 postseason and the trip to Omaha and the lengthy stay at the Men's College World Series, I want to remember the grit and the toughness of those players that really laid it out on the line and left it all out on that field last night for their school and our school and Aggies everywhere. That was really inspiring stuff, and unfortunately, it left with a sour taste on the way out due to a 1-run loss last night.
Richard, what do you think was the biggest issue the last 18 innings, the last 2 games? Where, and I hate to call it an issue because they were right there in both games, right? But what do you think the biggest issue was?
Yeah, I don't know if issue's the right word, and I just think that it was a 3-game series between 2 very well-matched ball clubs and perhaps the 2 best college baseball teams in the country all year long. Tennessee is a deserving champion, and so often as these games and these series in this conference come down to a rubber match and the late innings, they also hinge on timely hitting. And Tennessee got that last night, right? They scored 5 of the Christian Moore's leadoff home run in the first inning. The Aggies, they had their opportunities late. They just couldn't find that one extra hit, and they left too many men on base early in the ball game. And those early chances came back to haunt them late as they fell just shy. So issue, I don't know. I think that's just baseball, and it's just you were on the wrong end of it on the most important day of the year. And it was the difference in you winning a national title and you coming home back to College Station empty-handed.
Richard, since you've been covering them for so long, in your opinion, which was the Which was the more costly injury to A&M's quest for a championship? Was it Braden Montgomery, keeping in mind Caden Kent came into the lineup and played well? Or was it Shane Sadeo, keeping in mind that Lampkin answered and pitched really well?
I mean, absolutely no disrespect to Braden Montgomery, who is set to be the highest position player drafted in Texas A&M history in less than a month. But, I mean, that obviously hurt, right? Anytime you lose a top 10 pick and an obvious first-rounder, an All-American, and a huge piece of your offensive machine, it hurts. But we didn't really see the offense take too much of a tick down. You think about that Oregon series. He went down in game 1 of that series, the first inning of that game, and they still turned out a ton of runs in that game. They got locked into a pitcher's duel in game 1 in Omaha with Florida and found a way to win it. Same goes later on in the week as well. But if you have Braden Montgomery, maybe you score the one extra run, maybe you get the one extra base hit that you need to win a national championship. But at the same time, I think that not having the one extra reliable arm that could get you length and save some of the guys out of the bullpen, like a Chris Cortez or an Evan Aschenbeck. Think about who gave up the 3 runs late last night. It was your guy with 2 outs. And those guys, and it's not just Aschenbeck, it was everybody in the pitching staff, and Justin Lampkin included as he made his start on short rest. Those guys were pitching on fumes and absolutely gutted it out and gave the team every single ounce they had. And, it just wasn't enough. If they have Sadeo, they get a few extra innings out of him. That's less of a workload on your top guys. Maybe you're fresh later in the weekend and later in the stay in Omaha to get it done. So to me, I think it's Sadeo is the costlier loss, but I mean, either one, I don't think there's a wrong answer. I think both of them were huge blows, and it's pretty remarkable that they got so close without each of them.
Talking to Richard Zane, who's commuting back here from Omaha on TexAgs Radio. Richard, I think the pitching was actually better than I expected. And what I mean by that is that the pitching all season long was really good. But to have some of the performances from the unlikely people, right, like the Josh Stewarts of the world, we knew he had potential, but the way he came in, Justin Lampkin had a phenomenal time in Omaha. And again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying about Caden Kent coming in for Braden Montgomery. Some of these stories don't happen if they aren't forced to do it. And look, I wish those guys were all there to help them, and maybe the series goes differently with both Braden and Shane Sadeo. But the pitching, to me, was really, Tennessee's going to hit home runs. That's what they do. I thought the pitching was really good in Omaha overall.
You're right, and I think the first 3 games are the perfect example of that. They went 3-0 and clinched their spot in the championship series by giving up 3 total runs in 3 games to an offensive machine that has a future first rounder in Jack Caglione. They beat Florida twice, shut them out to get to the championship series for their 12th shutout of the year, and then Kentucky's offense looks different than what most people are used to, and they still shut them down as well. Pitching was fantastic. We were saying all year, or at least in the weeks leading up to the College World Series and even before the Sadeo injury, that somebody was going to have to step up and get you key outs and be an X factor and get you length if you were going to win a national title. And my pick at that time was Justin Lampkin. He did that. And I've got to give some props to Josh Stewart as well. He was fantastic, and he was good again last night. So he was in his, what I believe it was 3 outings in Omaha. He gave up 1 or 2 runs, and that's a guy that is sweeper heavy, and you might know it's coming, and you still can't touch it. He was incredible. But at the end of it is, at the end of the day, maybe you're one additional arm stepping up and getting you key outs away from being a national champion. And that hurts, but it certainly shouldn't take away from how good this pitching staff was. And think about it, Nuño, they had to battle against 3 different SEC teams at the biggest stage in college baseball. And this is the best conference in the game, best conference in the nation, no question about it. and they had to face two of the most talented teams in Florida, and then obviously a team that's going to now be in the running for greatest of all time in Tennessee. And I'm not trying to be a prisoner of the moment there, Nuño. To look at their resume and what they've done, first team to ever get to 60 wins, SEC West champions, SEC regular season champions, SEC tournament champions, and now the first number one seed to win the national championship in 25 years. That team's loaded with talent up and down the roster. Just look at the batting averages that those dudes brought into play last night. And I want to say they had like 6 guys over 310 or something like that. And A&M, it's so insanely tough to hold them down, and it's tough to hold them down for 3 games, and they were so close to doing it.
Hey, Richard, so I don't know, Dave, do we still have time?
We got maybe 30 seconds.
Quickly, Rich. Oh, well, then I can't. I was going to say quickly, but the answer would not be quick. So just, again, great job up there, both you guys, all of you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate it, OB. The entire team up here has been rock stars. Bronny been driving us all over the place. He's been the quote-unquote old man dad of the group. But then Jamie Murray coming out of retirement to shoot photos, and then Katie and Kay, social media and publishing and editing behind the scenes, they were fantastic as well. It was a really, really fun 2 weeks up here. Like I said, a little bittersweet coming back now. I wish it was a little happier of a road trip, but no, I think we'll all look back on it in the future very fondly, and hopefully have a lot of good memories to take with us.
Safe travels, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Of course. You guys. Talk to you later.
Later. Richard Zane there, coming back from Omaha. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back with some final thoughts here during the Go Hour. Right now, we're talking Chance McClain and Heritage Films. They do documentary films about families. They do it about family businesses, family ranches, family special moments, whatever that may be. Maybe it's a big Little League game that you want to kind of capture the pre and the post, and grandma and grandpa being there. Maybe it's a big hunting trip. Maybe it's, telling grandpa's story. Maybe it's telling his story about how he met his your grandmother, his wife, and how he started his business. And then it followed up with how your dad got into the business. Whatever your family story is, it's beautiful, and it should be told, it should be captured, and it should be preserved for the next generation. And that's what Chance McClain does with Heritage Films with these 2-hour documentaries. He also does the Year Flicks, which is a 20-minute Q&A style video, right? And in that video, you get to see a benchmark for the youngers in the family, 13-year-old, 15-year-old, 18-year-old, 22-year-old graduating from A&M, telling the different parts of their life in a Q&A, fun, green screen in the back kind of story. The website is yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. All right, we are back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour coming to a close here on a Tuesday morning. OB, people are in our feelings today, right? And I get it, as we should, because we're so close to seeing a championship. But one thing I can say, this program is heading places.
Oh, I agree. I feel like, to answer Richard's question, I feel like that I interpret Schloss saying that he was here for the long haul. And I love the way this program has, or what he's done with this program. And I just don't think that I don't think it's going to be long before they're back in a similar situation playing for it all. And maybe as early as next year. And maybe next time, they'll get the big hit and come home with that championship. It'll be that much sweeter.
Yeah, Tony Vitello's waited a while for a championship. Not a long while, but, it doesn't happen overnight. And 2 out of the last 3 seasons in the College World Series, Final Four, and a runner-up, and just incredible run there. OB, I appreciate your time, buddy. Thanks so much.
All right, have a good one.
You too. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, we go back on the road. We'll talk to Ryan Brauninger. We'll talk to him for a couple of segments after that. JB Moss reflecting on the season. We'll have Tom Hart and Billy Liucci. That and more. Thanks so much for your text messages. It is TexAgs Radio. All right, welcome back into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We've got Ryan Brauninger on the hotline as he's making his way back from Omaha to College Station. Bronny, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, Nuño. I'm glad to report that the state of Kansas is under construction. So all that means is it can only get better, right?
Has it been a rough drive this morning?
It's not been too bad. We stopped in Topeka and filled up, and we're making our way down the Kansas Turnpike. Looks like we'll be in College Station around 5:30 if traffic holds.
Bronny, yesterday on the post-game wrap, you mentioned pitching, defense, and timely hitting was the difference in this series. Just kind of go through it, because I thought A&M's pitching was phenomenal throughout this series, other than a couple of home runs, which Tennessee is bound to do. But the last couple of games, Tennessee, I mean, their pitching was extraordinary.
Well, yeah, I don't think the difference wasn't pitching. The difference was the timely hitting, and that's all it was. When you look at it, it was 15-15 in terms of total runs. A&M had one more hit than Tennessee over the course of the series. So, where do you find the difference? And when the numbers look like that, it's when did those hits occur? And that's what baseball is, man, especially at the highest level. You can split hairs, and yeah, there were some minute things maybe here or there that A&M probably could have done better. But in the end, I was fine with the result because it's just baseball. Like, sometimes the other team gets one more hit than you do, and you can do everything right. And A&M hit some balls really hard last night that Tennessee made game-changing plays on. Most notably, I think it was the sixth inning. A&M's got first and second, and Caden Sorrell comes up to the plate, and he hits the ball. I think it was first and third. I think it was a first and third scenario. And Caden Sorrell hits the ball at like 109 miles an hour. And it's right at Blake Burke, who's holding the runner on at first. The ball is 6 inches in either direction. Where Burke can't get leather on it, it's going to hook into the corner, and it's going to tie the game. And then you just, fast forward to the Tennessee eighth inning where they get the double off the wall to score the run. Or maybe it's the seventh. It's all running together. But the play at the plate, A&M, that's a sensational relay. The ball off the wall that Jace Lavalette, bare hands, makes a strong throw to Ali Camarillo, who adjusts his body while the ball's in flight to catch and turn and throw. He hits Jackson Appel basically in the mask with the ball. And Appel, thinking that the play is going to be on the outside of the plate, starts rocking the catch and tag that way. And Hunter Inslee makes a supremely athletic play at the last second to avoid the tag, and ended up being the one insurance run that Tennessee had to have in that game in 9 innings. So, it was the finest of margins, just like it's been all year in the SEC. Whenever you have two top clubs in this league, the game goes to a rubber match on Sunday, like we talked about it. It was no different than a series at home against Georgia or a series on the road against LSU. That was just another SEC series that came down to just the finest of margins.
Talking to Ryan Brauninger. Bronny, a question from Trey and Brian on the text line coming in for you. And I'll sum it up. It's kind of long, but he says, looking back at the long season, it seems like the offense changed around the Georgia series. Something happened. The power outage seemed to drop off dramatically as they went through a bit of a perceived slump. Would you call it a perceived slump? Would you say the stakes got higher, the pitching got better, the opponents got better?
Yeah, I think it's the latter of that. And then, people adjust during the season, and then you got to adjust with them. This A&M team set a club record for home runs, and they did it in overwhelming fashion, and they did it in an era where the pitching has never been better in college baseball. I don't know, man. It's not something I'm going to overly analyze right now. It's still kind of, for me to go through and try to put my finger on a season trend or, what tipped it. I would need the data in front of me, and I would need to probably go back in and watch a bunch of the games again. Because it's just, as with the season ending last night, it's hard for me to go back and just, like I said, pinpoint if this is even, a thing. I know the texter said perceived, and it might be just a perceived thing and not a real thing. but it's too hard for me to go back in and say, oh, yeah, this is what changed. This is why it was different over the last 4 or 5 weeks.
But, Bronny, one thing that I think is pretty interesting is how good of a team this is because of that perceived drop-off in power. Because, I mean, we had 1 home run from Jace Lavalette since the Arkansas series. We did not get that much from Gavin Grohovic from a home run perspective after dealing for such a while, but yet they found ways to win games differently. And I think that's maybe the real story in it all is this team wasn't just built one way.
No, and they showed their versatility even in Omaha, like winning games in different ways, scoring runs in different ways, keeping the opposition from scoring runs in different ways. And, I mean, you just – it's hard for me to look at the final – couple weeks of the season in Omaha and the Super Regional and not wonder what if. I mean, we'll do that till the end of time now. Like, what if Braden was healthy? What if Shane was healthy? What if Jace's hamstring's healthy the whole time? And you can what if it up and down. But, again, when you're talking about losing the national championship by 1 run, it's hard for me to be overly critical about anything. This is the greatest sports team in Texas A&M history, in my opinion, in the Big Three. In the Big Three, this is the greatest team that school's ever seen. And so I'm not going to go through it with a fine-tooth comb and nitpick everything here and there about what happened, what could have happened. I think as we're driving home, my number one thought about this club and this season was just, I mean, how cool it was and how it reignited the A&M fan base. And that started with that 2022 team. And this team just brought it to a whole other level and, change the trajectory of the program. And I think that from an athletic department standpoint, like, this can be done. And the A&M baseball team showed everybody that, hey, like, there's no curse. There's no such thing as battered Aggie syndrome. The stupidest thing I've ever had to deal with in my time as an analyst and working for TexAgs is this woe is me mentality, just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Our bread always falls jelly side down. Like, no, man, like, you just got to get the right people. And the right people can change things. Look at Clemson football. I mean, it just takes the right coach and the right people to get the thing going in the right direction. And I think A&M has done that. And the trajectory of this program is different than it was 2 or 3 years ago. And, football could be in the same boat, and we'll see with Mike Elko. But it's all about just getting the right people in and around the programs to compete at the highest level. And if you do that, you're going to be amongst the nation's elite.
So you said it on this show today. You've said it before. You said it's the best team you've ever seen, right? At A&M in the Big Three sports. But I want you to go into detail of what made this team the best team that you've ever seen.
Well, you start with just the raw talent. And we talked about that January. We talked about Montgomery, Jace Lavalette, Gavin Grohovic, and the Aggie fan base hadn't seen Gavin or Braden play up to that point, at least not in the Maroon and White. But it didn't stop there, right? We knew that Jackson Appel had a chance to be a really good player, kind of under the radar. Turns out he exceeded everybody's expectation and was the first team All-SEC catcher. Hayden Schott, we talked about his Jack Moss-like ability with the bat in his hand, and and Teddy Burton being an all Big Ten player to come over, and it was just like they got the right mix of, first of all, raw talent, and then you mix in, Caden Sorrell, who was supremely highly thought of in the high school ranks in the state of Texas, and before winning the draft to come to school, and you just kept seeing him get better and better, and by the end of this season, he was an absolute rocket ship in terms of the direction of his career at A&M, and Ali Camarillo being one of the slickest fielding shortstops we've ever seen. And it was the depth and it was the overall talent. That's where you started when you talk about best, right? Just the raw talent on the roster. And then you start watching them play, and then you start getting to know the kids and getting to know the camaraderie and watching them interact with each other, interact with the fan base. And then every time they get dealt these gut punches, whether it be during the regular season, but especially in the postseason, like they never stumbled, like they never hesitated to punch back. Like they'd get hit in the mouth and they'd wobble, but they'd regain their feet, and then they start swinging back every single time. And those pitchers this week, I know Richard said it earlier, and they were running on fumes at the end. And they're pitching on nothing but guts and backbone and will to win and love for their teammates and love for the university. And they competed their tails off against what I thought was the most well-rounded team in college baseball. If A&M is fully healthy, I mean, it's hard for me to – I think you're splitting hairs to pick Tennessee over A&M or A&M over Tennessee. But with A&M's injuries, Tennessee was the most talented group on the field and most well-rounded. But it didn't stop this A&M team, man. Like, they had every reason to say, hey, you know what? This has been an incredible season. This has been a phenomenally fun run to the College World Series, but we're banged up. We're really, having no number 2 starter is going to shorten our bullpen, shorten our starting rotation. The emotional blow of losing an All-American like Braden Montgomery and how it changes you offensively and defensively, it's been easy to hang it up, man. And these kids they kept playing. It was the pitching staff. It was the bench players. It was obviously the position players, the starters, just gutting it out. And Travis Chestnut hasn't played hardly any center fielder at all this year. He's your everyday center fielder in Omaha. Gavin Grahovic hasn't played outfield since he was in high school. They're running him out there in big situations in the College World Series finals. In the finals, man, Caden Kent's moving around the diamond. Top to bottom, the togetherness.
I think Bronny's in a tough spot right here. Bronny, you there, buddy? We'll try to check back here with Bronny in a moment. It's TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. He was putting into words why this team was the best team he had seen. And look, we all have our reasons for it. I think for me, it's the personalities, the joy that obviously comes with the victories that they gave us and how they won games. Those are all part of the reason that this is the best team in Aggie baseball history and maybe in all of what we've seen from Texas A&M. Maybe we should try to get Bronny on the actual phone as opposed to a Zoom to see if we can pick him up that way and see if we can get him on the show that way. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Carson, I know some people have been chiming in all show long. Let's try to get some shine for some of these thoughts.
Alrighty, so we have Richard Chapman Jr. texted in, look at what Tennessee's record has been over the last 4 seasons. They finally broke through and won the championship last night. If the Aggies can duplicate Tennessee's recent record over a 4-year period, we will break through and win the championship too.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think it's easier to lose earlier, right? It sucks, but then you can move on. But this is so fresh, and it came down to the 9th inning, right? It came down with a chance to tie it at the very, very end. So it's so fresh, and it's so difficult to kind of comprehend why it went south. But I believed it was going to happen yesterday. I believed it was going to happen on Sunday. And I think that's what makes it even more difficult. But yeah, look, this team, as Bronny has stated several times on this show, they have built something. This program is in a different trajectory now. It is now one of the perceived giants in college baseball, one of the 4 best programs in college baseball, and it will continue to be that way. Carson, what else?
I wanted to get into this. So USA Today put out their post-College World Series mock draft, and they have the St. Louis Cardinals selecting Braden Montgomery with the 7th overall pick.
Who was that again?
The St. Louis Cardinals.
Okay. They got a reputation for having a great farm system. Wherever he goes, he'll become one of my favorite teams, no doubt. No doubt about that. Let's get some more text messages in as we try to figure out the Bronny situation, Carson.
Okay, so Peruna in College Station texted in and said, the Aggies earned their place in Omaha. Be grateful. It does hurt to lose a game in a series like that. It is another sign that you deserve to be there.
Yeah. Look, this team, not only did they deserve to be there, and what I loved was the stories I would hear from you all, texting the show, tweeting at me, and letting us know like you were on your way. Hey man, I decided I'm going. This is a once in a lifetime thing potentially. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna try to get my people there. I'm gonna leave work. Is that Bronny back on the air?
Yeah, you got me, Nuño?
Yeah, Bronny, I was just commenting, and I know we didn't get to finish your answer, but I think one of the coolest parts about this whole College World Series experience for me is the fact that like all these people who wanted to go to the College World Series, but they didn't think they could go, finally making a decision. You know what? I'm missing work on Monday. I'm going. I'm going to make that commute. I've got to be there for history.
Well, the fan base was awesome all season, and I thought it only continued in Omaha. And like, parts of that game sound like Kyle Field, man. Like the synergy between the players we've talked a lot about, but the synergy between the players and the fans this year was on another level. At Bluebell Park reflected a fan base that had, like I said earlier, like reignited their passion for Aggie baseball. And it's always been to me the second most popular sport on campus, but it's blossomed in, it'll never catch football, but it's blossomed into a clear-cut number 2 where people are going out of their way to talk to us about Aggie baseball and, make those decisions, like you said, to miss work for special series or special games. And the team provided so many memories for the fan base this year. And it's, because it's still fresh and top of mind, it's hard to go back through each and every one of them. And Richard and I were just sitting in here before I started this interview talking about, how do you do a top 10 moments and how do you differentiate the top 10 moments from the top 10 plays? And I mean, it's just it was a schedule and it was a season so chock full of just incredible moments and incredible plays. And, the atmospheres at Bluebell Park against Vanderbilt or against Georgia, against Texas that night, against Oregon, those are just legendary. It's the best atmospheres that ballpark has ever seen. And it's only going to get better with the renovations. And, this is a program, and this is a fan base that deserves more when it comes to like their home ballpark. They have turned Bluebell into a really rowdy place in a big way, but like,
All right, welcome back into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. I got Ryan Brauninger driving in from Omaha. I want to announce this because A&M, the athletic department, sent out a release about 17 minutes ago. Welcome home, Texas A&M baseball. Join us in welcoming home the 2024 A&M baseball squad after its historic run at the College World Series today at approximately 12:30 p.m. at Bluebell Park. The team will arrive outside the Bill Burns Student Athletic Center down the third base line. If able to offend, fans can park at lot 100J momentarily to help celebrate the team. So team will be showing up. Hopefully a bunch of Aggies show up as well at Bluebell at 12:30. Bronny, I want you to put into perspective how close this College World Series was, like how thin the margins were, because same number of runs, same number of hits. It was so close.
Yeah, I just think you look at the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country, and they were, I thought, clear cut. Arkansas had a shout there at times, but I just didn't think Arkansas offensively was on the same level as A&M or Tennessee. And Tennessee came in with the crazy home run numbers. The Aggies were better on the mound in terms of their ERA. But yeah, I mean, the margins were crazy fine whenever you were trying to look through and prognosticate on what might happen in the series. And it played out that way. Again, it just came down to Tennessee made one more play. They got one more hit than A&M was able to muster. And that's why, and look, you got to start talking about that Tennessee team as one of the best in college baseball history. They win the SEC East, they win the regular season, they win the SEC tournament, and then they win the national championship. They stockpiled as many trophies as you can possibly get in a season in the toughest league in America. That was a pretty special all-time team that A&M just lost to by 1 run.
Talking to Ryan Brauninger here on TexAgs Radio. Bronny, who is somebody, and there's several candidates here, so I'll give you some time, but some people who grew up during this postseason run. Obviously, Caden Kent comes to mind if you want to go into depth on him, but who are some others that you think really kind of came of age this postseason run?
Well, yeah, Caden Kent, he wrote his name right in the center of Aggie lore with what he did, not just in the Super Regional, but in the College World Series as well. You think about guys taking off, it's Caden Sorrell, like that's a massive one, right? Gavin Grahovic's just, I don't think you ever saw like his stock rise because he was just, you buy stock at the beginning of the year and it's as high as it was at the end of the year. And, but yeah, like Sorrell, Kent, I thought it was good to see Jack Bell get into the game. He had the bad air and his team picked him up, like probably made him feel like a real part of what was going on around him. And so, yeah, but, maybe some of those guys on the mound, Josh Stewart was massively important in Omaha. That's a guy who kind of reshaped his career under Max Weiner. Caden Wilson, I know he gave up the 2 home runs in game 2, but there was a reason why the staff kept running him out there, and Weston Moss too. And so, you look at the future of this club, with the portal, it's always crazy. You never know what's about to happen over the next month, but I mean, there's a chance that this roster next year could be right back in a position to make another run like this.
So kind of give us some ideas of what the roster could look like, Bronny, just based on eligibility and what's expected to come in.
Well, off the current starting 9, right, you're gonna lose Appel. He could come back, but I'm fairly certain he's going to leave. I'm fairly certain that Ali Camarillo is going to leave. Teddy Burton is out of eligibility. Travis Chestnut is out of eligibility. So from there, you start piecing together, what they've got coming back with Jace, Gavin, Sorrell. Hayden Schott's an interesting one, man. He can come back. Obviously, he didn't play hardly any defense this year, but he is really good in the batter's box. So Schott will have a decision to make. That would be a pretty crucial one in terms of getting a super experienced and talented player back for you in the lineup. And then you start looking at what they've done in the portal with Wyatt Hensler, the Ivy League home run king, and Matthew Burke-Evans, a guy that the coaching staff is super high on, coming out of Fairfield, who's already committed out of the portal. And from what we understand, they're getting ready to host some transfer portal visitors as soon as this coming weekend. And so how the roster shakes out, it'll be interesting to see. But I mean, just on what you've got committed, signed, both out of the high school ranks and the portal, you obviously have to keep an eye on the draft with the high school kids. So, you really don't know what that final class will look like. And, for another month and a half, But again, man, like there's enough there. There's enough really intriguing pieces that are set to come back to make you go, okay, this team is not going to take much of, if any, a step back in terms of their overall potential. And that's the goal, is to construct a roster every year, construct a team that can make it to Omaha and give yourself a chance to win it.
How about the Braden Montgomery type of transfer? Have you heard any names that have gone in that are of that level, or is it just way too fresh right after the College World Series?
Yeah, I mean, A&M's going to be in on some of the top players. And, once we get back and get settled and I get a better idea of when these kids are coming in on visits, I'll release those names. But I can tell you that A&M is very much in the running for some of the top transfer bats and arms.
Shane Sadeo, it's unfortunate his season was cut short for several reasons. The kind of run he was having towards the end, and obviously A&M needed him. What kind of future does he have in the A&M rotation? What kind of pitcher do you see him when he's fully healthy?
Well, I mean, both he and Justin Lampkin are probably going to enter next season, assuming this deal with Shane's elbow is not going to require surgery where he's going to miss 8 to 10 months. Let's just assume that he's available and at full strength to start next year. There's a lot that can happen between now and then, but if you're just trying to pencil things in, it's hard for me not to imagine that Shane Sadeo isn't your Friday night starter. Now, in order for him to get there and withstand just the wear and tear of the week-to-week throwing at a high level and the physical and mental strain that requires, he's going to have to continue to add weight, add the requisite strength in the weight room with Josh Kiesel to make those jumps and to get there. But he certainly can. He added 15 pounds this past offseason, really helped him in terms of his overall repertoire and how his stuff played, and also helped him with his longevity within games. But, Shane is you just hope he comes back fully healthy and ready to go, because he's an elite left-handed pitcher in this conference. And when you've got those, you've got a chance to win not only games but series. And when you win enough series, you start turning in and talking about national seed and super regional host. So that's the goal, right? And that's part of constructing a roster that can get you to Omaha every year, is constructing a roster that can get you in that national seed conversation, which would mean home field advantage throughout the postseason.
Richard can probably correct me if I'm wrong here, but coming into this season, 2 Aggies had hit the 50 home run plateau, and Jace joined that group. So there's 3 that are in the 50 club. But it's potential for this team alone, this 2024 team, to have 3 guys eventually end up there. When it's all said and done, it's possible. Jace, who hit that, Gavin hit that, and maybe even Caden Sorrell. Just thinking of those numbers historically offensive when it comes to the offensive perspective of those 3 guys long-term for A&M baseball. Ronnie.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the importance of recruiting, right? And adding players and signing players, getting them to school that have the potential to do those things. And while I think, Caden Sorrell, I could see him in that 20 home run plateau or 20 home run range, over the next 2 years. Gavin, and obviously Jace is already there, but Gavin's a pretty safe bet to get there. And so that's one of the interesting things about, every high school class that comes in now is there going to be one of those that enrolls this fall and has an impact the way Gavin and Jace have and the way that Sorrell did on their teams and their respective freshman season. So that's what's exciting, man, is you've seen an uptick in overall talent. So every year you're really intrigued and interested to see who makes it to campus out of that high school signing class, and then how early of an impact and how big of an impact they can play in their freshman spring.
Ronnie, you, Richard, Jamie, Katie, Kay Nagley, Billy, of course, all killed it in Omaha, man. Proud to work with you, proud of the work you guys did and representing TexAgs so well. Thanks for your work this week. We'll get you on the show soon, all right?
I appreciate you, Nuño.
Later, man. Ryan Brauninger, the best baseball mind around. All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back and talk to J.B. Moss, get his thoughts on the year it was and what it could be moving ahead. Right now, your car wash tradition with the friendliest staff is here to talk to you. That is Aggieland Express Car Wash. They are the first green car wash, and they recycle 100% of their water. But I want you to know they have 2 great locations in College Station. You know about the original William D. Fitch behind the Shipleys. in South College Station. How about the new location, 2520 Texas Avenue South in College Station across the Planet Fitness? They both have all the services you want, from the wash options to the vacuums to the towels to the unlimited monthly membership starting as low as $19.95. But the new location, and I'm only talking about the new location here, also offers a full service wash. It is the newest full service wash in town. They have all the options, and their team will take care of your cleaning, your drying, your vacuuming, armor, all interior, all under a completely covered area so that your car stays cool while they make it sparkle and shine. Special deal for a limited time. They're inviting you to try a full service option for half price. It's normally $40. They'll do it for $20. All you got to say is David Nuño from TexAgs sent you by. That $40 price is now $20 for you. And right now we're going to give away a free car wash. Does someone who want to try that full service wash at the new location? I'm giving one away right now. $40 value, 979-693-1150. I want the first caller to do that. We'll give them a hookup from Aggieland Express Car Wash at the new location, 2528 Texas Avenue South in College Station across from the Planet Fitness. It's Aggieland Express Car Wash. All right, we are back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the hotline as we reflect on a very successful Aggie baseball season, a game that came up a little too short, unfortunately. JB Moss joining us to talk all about it. JB, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, Nuño. How we doing?
We're okay, man. I mean, considering how close it's harder the closer you get, right?
No, it definitely is. Like, it's a mixed bag of emotions. Waking up this morning, there's no doubt the disappointment of defeat and being so close, but also just a tremendous sense of pride to get into the national championship final and what a successful and fun season.
You know, I probably used the wrong wording earlier with Richard when I asked what the biggest issues were in this series against Tennessee. And he's like, it wasn't issues. It was just two teams battling and one won. But when you look at this series against Tennessee, if issues isn't the right word, why did it not go A&M's way?
Well, I mean, it's a tough question to answer. There's no doubt. I think it's, you're splitting hairs. I think the issue is A&M played the best college baseball team in the country. And I certainly think A&M was the second best. I do think it doesn't always happen this way, but I do think that the best team won the College World Series. I think that Tennessee was just a hair more talented. I mean, a hair. And I think they were also a hair deeper, and specifically in their pitching. And I think moving forward, if there's one area where I think A&M can improve, I think the quantity of elite arms. I think A&M still has a bit to go.
Talking to JB Moss here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. JB, to me, look, you get so close it hurts. But one of the things that I think it hurts because we know these personalities. We like the people, right? Like, we love these players. Just talk about some of the characteristics of this team, some of the personalities that really we'll be thinking about for forever when we think about Aggie baseball.
No, you're certainly right. You talk about Jackson Appel and Hayden Schott and Ali Camarillo, and really, I mean, you can go up the entire roster. It's a great collection of guys. I'm not in the clubhouse and I'm not behind the curtain, but, I haven't heard one issue as far as, a character problem on the team. You can see it in the way the guys play and the way the guys smile and interact with each other. They have great camaraderie. They're great people. And I think that that's something that Coach Slosh and Nolan Kane have done such a great job of, not only accumulating talent, but accumulating the right guys in the clubhouse. And like I said, you can see it on the field and the way they interact with the fans. And you're exactly right. We're going to remember these personalities as well as this talent for a very long time.
One of those personalities that I think really just delivered, is Hayden Schott. And where I want to take this with Hayden Schott, JB, is a lot of times the guy who has the biggest personality on the team doesn't play like, one of the top two or three guys, right? He played at times as one of the top two or three guys on this roster. I mean, he was one of the best bats that they had in Omaha.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jackson Appel was giving him a run for his money, but I think he's close up there in team batting average and leading the team in batting average. And look, some of the time, like you said, the class clown, if you will, cannot be as productive as you would like, but absolutely not the case with Hayden Schott. I think that his maturity, as long as he's been in college, I think that has a lot to do with it. He's battle tested. And look, he doesn't get enough credit for just how talented he is. I mean, his ability to use the whole field to hit, and he has a beautiful swing. And he was a key part in the season. There's no doubt about it. But that's a special combination of being kind of the team character, if you will, but also being uber talented. A&M was lucky to have him, and he was very fun to watch and get to know this year.
Talking to JB Moss here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. When you think of Caden Kent and his heroics this postseason, he's going to be a name that, I don't think we thought of very often, and now we're going to think about him for forever.
No, well, we definitely are. And listen, I certainly hope that he remains in Aggie land. And if he does, he's going to play a huge role in next year's team. I truly believe that. Nuño, as fun as it was to watch his success on the field, getting to know him in the press conference setting and his answers to some of these questions was just remarkable. You kind of get a feel that may be the case with his dad and and him growing up in the big league ballpark and around big leaguers, but just, him talking about the process and stacking days on days. And, I just think that he's one of the hardest workers on the team. And I think he's, in my opinion, he's not the most talented, but I think he's certainly a kid of high character, and he works super hard. And I think if he just continues to do that, he's going to play a huge role in Maroon and White moving forward.
I was not surprised they went to Evan Ostenbeck. I thought it was a little earlier than I expected, but when you're in such a close game, you go with your big dog. And I know he gave up a couple of shots, but that's the way the story had to go, right? You had to bring him in.
Yeah, you're 100% right, David. And look, it's kind of what I was pointing to about the depth of pitching. I remember talking to Bronny earlier in the year, and I just felt like, like I said, I'm splitting hairs here, and maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I just feel like maybe 2 or 3 more quality arms would have made the difference on the year. But you're exactly right. You had to bring Evan in that spot because you had no one else. And the guys that threw were running on fumes because, number one, you lost Shane Sedale, you were down a starter. But number two, there was only 5 or 6 guys they were going to roll with. And like I said, I would like to see that number be a little deeper. I think Coach Slosh would tell you that as well. Look, Coach Slosh is trying to implement the University of Florida. And one thing they have at University of Florida is arm after arm after arm running out of that bullpen. And I saw it firsthand when I played at A&M. And so, but look, Coach Slosh made the right decision. It was Evan's game. And if you're going to go down, you want to go down with your best arm. So, it just didn't fall our way, but Evan still did a spectacular job. And I was pleased with his performance as well.
They're no longer freshmen, but Gavin Grahovic, Caden Sorrell, and there's others as well that we can talk about. The young players on this team, and we talked about Caden Kemp, but just the growth and the trajectory that they're going to be on.
Yeah, it's amazing. And one thing that Nolan and Jim have done such a great job of is upticking the position player talent at Texas A&M. Don't get me wrong, we've had some. Braden Shoemake as a first rounder. We just haven't had a ton of quantity, high level first round position player draft picks. You think of Tyler Naquin, Braden Shoemake, as I mentioned. But getting guys like Sorrell and Grahovic and Laviolette to school has done wonders in this position player haul for Texas A&M. And I'm so excited to see it continue. I know A&M has a great position player high school class coming in. And if they can get those guys to campus, you're going to see more and more production like you've seen from Grahovic and Laviolette. And so, I'm really excited about where the program is. And I'm so excited to see it continue to evolve, because I do think there can even be more room for improvement. And that's really exciting to say.
A little bit more on these too, because I know how frustrating it must be for him to not be at 100%. That being said, what an opportunity, right? Like to go down with a hamstring injury, and for him, I feel like each day he moved better, and he just battled, JB. He battled through the injury. He battled through some tough at bats. He battled the entire time.
No, he certainly did. And look, like I said, we don't get a peek behind the curtain to really see what was going on. Number one, we don't know how bad the injury was, but I think it's credit to the support staff, the trainers, and the doctors and all the people that are there to support A&M baseball. I mean, you could see it, the way Jace was moving every single game, every single day. He started moving better and better. And I remember Bronny mentioning it. He did look a little uncomfortable in the box when he first injured it, but then he kind of got his feet back under him and he hit a home run, and testament to the kid. I'm sure he was working his butt off to be as healthy as possible. And look, he's a supreme talent and he's so fun to watch. And you cannot say enough great things about Jace, and another high character guy, right? We don't hear anything negative about Jace, and he's certainly a nice young man, and just so excited to continue to see his development and his growth, and what I think is absolutely feasible in him being the first overall pick in the 25 draft. It's going to be fun to watch him next year.
JB, what does an offseason look like after heartbreak for like these high level athletes? You've done it before. You've had a heartache at the end of a season. What does it look like? Is it like, I'm getting to work tomorrow? Do I need to take a couple of weeks off? Like, how quickly does the flip switch back on to like, it's now time to work?
Yeah. The answer is it's incredibly individualized. And a lot of it is up to the coaching staff, to be honest with you. Guys that are banged up and guys that, had 200, 250 at bats, they're not going to race those guys to get out the door and head to summer ball. But the guys that they feel like really need to get experience, that didn't play a whole lot, that didn't get as many at bats, they're going to get those guys out pretty quick. I remember being at A&M and they would kind of give you a week to get your feet under you, and then they'd ship you off the summer ball because they wanted you to get better. But guys like Jace and Gavin who have USA invites, that's a whole different animal, and they're going to have to assess where those guys are at physically. But, it's incredibly individualized. The guys that played a lot, the guys that are banged up, you may see those guys hanging around College Station and trying to get healthy. But, the super young guys like the Jack Bells that they have a lot of hope for, those guys need to go play. They got to develop because they spent a large majority of the season not getting real game reps. So those guys got to get out there and get better.
JB, last thing for you. Make us believe why this is not just the one time to the College World Series final, like why this is going to be a mainstay for this program moving forward, knocking on the door and also eventually breaking through and winning it.
Well, I tell you, the first thing I would tell you was to go look at Jim Schlossnagel and Nolan Cain's resume, because those resumes are not going to tell you that this is one and done. We have incredible leadership at A&M right now. And I understood why Richard asked the question last night. It's very important for us to keep the coaching talent intact that we have in Aggie Land. I truly believe that. I think they've done an incredible job getting talent to campus. And I think also, we talk about it all year, Nuño, I think it's one thing to get it to campus. It's another thing to develop it. I think Mike Early has done a fantastic job developing these guys. Coach Weiner, I mean, what an incredible job. A complete overhaul in production on the pitching mound. And I think we have an incredible staff. I think with the new stadium, I think the brightest days of Texas A&M baseball are ahead. And I think everybody just needs to continue to love on these players and continue to support them emotionally, financially, because I think this is just the beginning of what a true powerhouse Texas A&M baseball program can look like.
JB, great work all season long, man. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me, gig 'em, and let's go get them again next year.
Talk to you soon, bud. Take care. JB Moss here on the program.
All right.
We'll hit a break. We'll come back with some closing thoughts on the 9 o'clock hour before we start with Tom Hart and Billy Liucci. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. Great deals on the website. You want a deal on a vehicle? You should look on the website right now. Like literally, as I'm talking to you during this commercial, you should go type in caldwellcountrychevrolet.com with one hand. Don't type with two. And then you're going to see all the great deals that they have on there. And when you see the deals, you're like, all right, you know what? I see where you're selling there, Nuño. Let me go buy Caldwell Country Chevrolet. You make the drive. You start looking at the vehicles. You test drive. You see the customer service, and you're blown away by the entire experience. You get great trade-in value. And you're like, all right, I'm kind of sold. But do you like Aggie football? And they're like, yeah, we're proud supporters of Aggie athletics at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. And then you're like, all right, well, this is my place. What about complimentary pickup and service? And you're like, well, the service isn't complimentary, but the pickup is, and the delivery is as well. And it's great when you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. About a 15-minute drive, Brian to Caldwell, short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. All right, guys. As a reminder, the Aggie baseball team, Hank sends it in, welcoming back to Bluebell Park today at approximately 12:30 p.m. Go support them there at Bluebell. We'll have Tom Hart at the top of the 10 o'clock and Billy Liucci also. Now it's time for Schulte Roofing, an award-winning roofing company that provides industrial, commercial, and residential services to Belleville, Brenham, Bryan, College Station, Conroe, Montgomery, Navasota, San Antonio, and the Woodlands, and of course surrounding counties. They're the home of the Bulletproof Roof Guarantee, the industry's absolute best roofing system, installation warranty, and 100% satisfaction guarantee. They've been around since 1994. They're a top 100 roofing company, and they want to take care of you, and they take care of everybody in the Brazos Valley. Call them up, 1-800-4ROOF. Again, that number, 1-800-4ROOF, or go to schulteroofing.com. That is schulteroofing.com, the home of the Bulletproof Roof Guarantee. Billy and Tom in the 10 o'clock next on TexAgs Radio. All right, we are back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 3 of the program, looking back at a very successful A&M baseball season. And I guess we're going to start transitioning to football here very soon as well. So we have a lot to talk about. We go to the hotline. Tom Hart from the SEC Network and ESPN joining us here on the program. Tom, good morning, buddy.
What's up, David? How's Omaha?
I didn't go to Omaha. I did not go to Omaha. We sent our crew of Richard Zane, Billy Liucci, of course, and Ryan Brauninger. So I'm actually in Seattle, Washington, believe it or not doing TexAgs work, but doing TexAgs work in this seedy hotel room.
I was curious. I saw your hotel pick yesterday. I was like, for sure he's in Omaha. Seattle would have been the last guess. But, if you wanted to go visit Steve Largent, then that's a great place to be.
I have an overachieving daughter that is playing in this big soccer playoff thing that I had committed to already. And I said I was going to be with the Aggies every step of the way. So I was with the team throughout, obviously just doing it remotely because I had to be a part of it. And our crew in Omaha did a wonderful job. And it was a fun season, man. It was obviously it didn't end the way we wanted it to, Tom, but it was a great year.
I think given everything that team went through, especially with the injuries in the postseason, the resiliency that they showed, and I know my audience today, so I think this will hit. I'm never a referee hunter or an umpire hunter. But I sent this text to our group chat. I think it was the 8th inning, the 0-1 pitch. Who was at the plate? Now I'm blanking. 0-1 changeup low in the 8th inning to our Cali dude. What's his name? Why am I blanking on his name? No, not Grahovic. The fun-loving, big personality Cali guy.
Hayden Schott?
Hayden Schott, yeah. Hayden took an 0-1 changeup that was definitely low and out of the zone, and that changed the entire at bat. I mean, there was an opportunity to threaten right there. It takes it to 0-2, and now you can be attacked in 1,000 different ways. So I thought, you would just hope that you'd get a little bit more consistency with the strike zone at that level. But man, I was just impressed with the battle throughout the entire game and throughout the entire series for that team.
Yeah, I think any team coached by Schloss, let me take it in parts. I think any team playing high level sports, there's no quit in you, right? There should be no quit. And the way Schloss does it. But the thing that was so impressive to me was their play gave me hope. As a guy who can be very pessimistic with my teams that I love, there was no pessimism. I was like, even on that last at bat, I'm like, we might find a way right here, guys. And I think their play inspired that, Tom.
That is such a refreshing perspective, and I know it's not just you. I know the team earned that, but honestly, sitting on my couch, I felt the same way. I mean, I didn't think that game was over until the final swing, and usually, as fans, we tilt the other way, right? And we have this doom and gloom mentality. But man, I just thought, listen, that Tennessee team at A&M deserves all the credit they can possibly get. That Tennessee team of the last 3 or 4 years was the best team in baseball and what Tony Bartello has built. And so it's not just that you were within an at bat of winning the entire thing and taking home a national title, but you're going against a behemoth. You're going against a team that is built to win. And I thought the power that Tennessee had that showed up in the postseason continued through Omaha. And I wasn't, as we talked over the last couple of weeks, I wasn't entirely sure that roster was built to win in that ballpark. But it's 100 degrees. The wind really isn't blowing in. The ball's going to carry. You have a chance to do some damage. And when that lineup gets an opportunity to do damage, that Tennessee lineup, they have guys that don't miss. And so tip of the cap to those guys. They swung the bats really well. I thought Kirby Connell was a magician coming out of the bullpen, especially the at-bat with Kent late in the game. It's so hard to let, the scouting report says one thing, and it's so hard in that moment to believe that he's going to throw a slider that's not going to be in the strike zone. Like, you want so badly to put the ball in play that it's, that's what makes Kirby Connell the most used pitcher, I think, in the history of college baseball. Like, nobody gets out there as often as he does because he's got good stuff.
It's interesting, Tom, that I think both pitching staff, we know about the offense, right? And we know about Max Sweener, what he was able to do. But considering the lack of help because of Shane Stadeo's injury, I thought both pitching staffs were fantastic against high-powered offenses.
I agree 100%. Obviously, you would have liked to have a better start last night in the first inning. But listen, what he had given you to that point in terms of being perfect, and I think it also illustrates, David, the conundrum when you're managing a pitching staff, right? I mean, you've got your guys, and how long do I stay with them versus when do I go to the fresh arm? And is the fresh arm better than the guy I got? And the stress of woulda, coulda, shoulda, and looking at it in hindsight would drive me crazy if I had to manage a pitching staff, quite frankly. I mean, because you could second guess every change or non-change, and we've seen the best miss at it. We've seen World Series lost on those exact things. And those guys get paid a lot of money to do it.
Tom, you have a unique perspective where you get to cover all these teams in the SEC, and you get to learn the personalities. You spoke about one earlier in Hayden Schott, but I think that's part of the thing that made this run with A&M so special is the personalities on this team. And you got to know some of them and interviewed them. Not only Schloss and his personality, but Braden Montgomery, Hayden Schott, Jace Lavalette, some really good dudes that I think nationally were well received as well.
Well, I think it's a very mature group. And it's a grown-up group, even the young guys. And what I mean by that is if you're Jace Laviolette or you're Braden Montgomery, you've been on big stages. I mean, Braden had played in Omaha a couple of times, so regular season games. Like, come on, man! Like, I've done this. I know what it's like to be in the bright lights. And the transfers who maybe didn't have the SEC experience, but they had the experience of being a great teammate and knowing what a difference a great locker room makes, and the leadership on that team with Schloss and Max and Nolan. Those are guys that know what winning teams look like. Nolan Cain's won a national championship as a player. He knows what it looks like and what you need it to be. And so I think all of that goes together to allow for a team personality, because you have the maturity of guys that know it's not just about me, it's about everybody in here. I thought Pep, maybe Hayden Schott was the best example of that. I know there's people that know the team better than I do, but the ability to go out and perform and to have personality and keep guys loose and to keep the stress level down is irreplaceable. And I think every elite team has a guy like that on it, and who knows who that is, right? The Patriots had Gronk or Edelman, and you could man, pick a championship team. Everybody has one of those guys. The Red Sox were kind of, when they busted the slump, they were kind of lovable clowns. They had a bunch of dudes that kept everything loose. And I think think about how long that baseball season is. They start playing in February, and they just finished yesterday. That's an unbelievable grind. And over the last 3 weeks, you've been really 4 weeks going back to the SEC tournament. And the last series before that, when you were trying to win a tournament, a conference title, you're playing in high leverage games and high leverage at bats every single game and every inning. And I think that could be exhausting.
Tom, one of the talking points that I probably said too much this week and at the end of last week was that I feel like this Aggie baseball team gives that blueprint of what we think Aggie football will be, because it shows having the right guy with the right plan and staff. Everything is possible at Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And it's a blueprint that can be used in any sport. Football is obviously the highest priority for an entire athletic department and for a fan base. But it's everything we just talked about. Listen, not to harp on the negative, but we know that just getting the number one recruiting class or one of the top transfer classes in the country is not enough. It's not just about the stars next to a guy's name. It's how he handles himself in front of his teammates. Are we worried about an arm sleeve? Are we worried about the weather? Are we worried about playing time and snaps? I mean, look what Kent did. Look at his performance in the biggest stage. And if he had been worried about all that other stuff over the previous 3 months, he's not ready to take those big at-bats in the postseason. So the dynamic that coaches have to go through in a recruiting cycle is so complex. And you look at talent, I think everybody be honest, like, okay, let's find the most talented people. And then out of this pool, who fits and who doesn't fit? Who do we project that we don't need to be around or want to be around every day? And that is a very complicated process. Hiring managers at Fortune 500 companies go through that same thing. I was just reading an article the other day where a Fortune 500 CEO took 2 candidates to dinner. And when they walked out, he told one, "Thanks, your services won't be needed." And he said, "What do you mean? Why not?" He said, "Well, you weren't polite to the wait staff and you salted your food before you even tasted it. You didn't try it first." I don't want somebody who isn't open to what things may be and instead sees them how he thinks they are. And the other guy got the job. Like it's more than just test scores and stars next to your name and batting average and home runs or sacks or touchdowns. It's, can you be a team leader and can you be a team player?
Tom, we talk about it from a football perspective, from a baseball perspective. How much harder does the SEC become now that Texas and Oklahoma are officially in it?
Well, let's address the elephant of the room. First of all, the last time Texas was open, when Aggie Garrido was convinced to step down and give up his job as a 5-time national champion, that opened up, at the time, arguably one of the most, if the most, not the most prestigious college baseball job in the country. I mean, from a resource standpoint and a national championship standpoint, what Aggie had built there was akin to what Rod Dedeaux did at USC. And those USC times were long gone. 9 different coaches got raises that cycle, strictly from Texas. There was a coach in the SEC that got on a jet, flew to Austin, plane landed, plane took back off. He never stepped off the plane. He got a significant raise. I could think of, just off the top of my head, and I could be off just a hair, but the following schools gave their coaches raises, by my recollection, the last time Texas was open: Louisville, Vanderbilt, Florida, LSU, Virginia. Who am I missing? I'm missing 4 others. It is a high-profile job, as we know, with great resources. And so whomever they get is going to go in there with huge expectations because they're going to be handed a massive paycheck, and they're not going to leave where they are currently without the promise of a massive checkbook to tackle the transfer portal and NIL. And so no matter what Texas has been, and David Pierce took him to Omaha, I think 3 times in 8 or 9 seasons, that's nothing to sneeze at. No matter what Texas has been, the opportunity down the road for that program to grow is very real because of where they find themselves in the cycle and what they must promise to get an elite coach. And so I think that's a real concern. And Oklahoma played in the finals just a couple of years ago. So that is nothing to sneeze at. They don't have the same resources as Texas. Their ballpark is behind probably everybody in the league outside of Missouri. But they're always a threat, especially if their coach has leverage and can get more money for himself and for his quote unquote payroll and roster.
Tom, when you think about Jace Lavalette, Gavin Grohovic, I mean, and the direction, I'll add Caden Sorrell to that list. Offensively, another year of just offensive onslaught opportunities.
I mean, how could you not think of Jace as, like, preseason player of the year? I mean, that guy had a monster season and showed incredible maturity throughout the course of the year, took mature at bats, flashes incredible raw skills. He comes back with another year under his belt. It's an unbelievable advantage that Schloss has sitting in his clubhouse right now. And that's before you go and you hit the portal a little bit harder and you convince some guys to stick around who otherwise may have draft opportunities, and you say, stay with us. That's a monster advantage and a gold mine that he's sitting on right there.
Hey, I do want to ask you a couple football things. I was reading an article about teams that could be dangerous this year. And the reason it caught my interest is because LSU was listed as one of the teams that could be dangerous this year. And I'm going to sound like I'm talking out of two sides of my mouth. I think LSU potentially could struggle this year just because it's very difficult to make up the talent that Jaden Daniels had. And I know they're very high on Garrett Nussmeier, but there's still some question marks there. But if LSU is already a top 10 team, how dangerous they should be. They should be dangerous. It's LSU. Am I right here?
Well, yeah. On paper, LSU should be dangerous every year, but who's the best player they have on the defensive side of the ball?
Right.
There's no question it's Harold Perkins, but how do they use him? And how do they know where he fits? And how do they figure that out? His freshman year was his best year because they just let him play. And he was undersized at the position he was at, but they let him run around and they let him, they let him be a freak without a lot of responsibilities. And as a result, they got incredible production for him, especially late in the year when there wasn't much of a scouting report on him. And he was just able to go out there and cause mayhem. Who else is on that side of the ball that you can rely on? I mean, they fired the defensive coordinator for a reason. And I think Matt House is a great defensive coordinator. They had a lot of injuries and they had guys out of position and they could not figure it out. And so I hate to be a naysayer when it comes to any single program, but man, you have to have defense in this league. And they've got a lot to prove to me that they have anything that's, that's good enough to hold up week in and week out.
What about Clemson, a team that we got so used to being, a playoff contender, if not a playoff team and a national championship team, but some of the luster of Dabo has worn off. I'd be very interested to see if he can have a big season, how that'll change the way maybe some teams do their operations. But do you think they can be dangerous this year?
Until he starts to invest in the portal and gets with modern times in terms of not necessarily roster building, but what would be the word for it? Like roster reinforcement. They're playing at a huge disadvantage. Everyone else in major college football is using the portal to reinforce what they already have. And they're making themselves better every cycle, if not multiple cycles a year. If you're not doing that, I mean, that's like giving up draft picks, or not draft picks, but that's like saying, no, we're not going to worry about free agency. And so, I'm really curious to see what happens with Dabo going forward. To me, he is that program. He's the one that built it to what it is, with all due respect to, Danny Ford and whatever they did in the 80s. If he doesn't figure it out, then they're in a bad spot. And oh, by the way, you're getting close to a point where the pressure of being an elite program grows by the day because of the opportunities that are there for teams perhaps to leave the ACC and find a great landing spot, not a good landing spot. Like Big 12 might be a good landing spot. The teams, the programs that matter that are elite, the landing spots they're going to find are going to be worth $30-40 million more per year if they can land in the Big 10 or the SEC. That's a lot of pressure to reestablish yourself as an elite program.
So, Tom, you're on TexAgs, so I got to ask you about A&M being one of those teams that could be dangerous. Do you see it?
Yeah, I see it because they've got great coaching and they've got a great quarterback. And the quarterback position reminds me a little bit, without doing a deep dive into the numbers, but a little bit about what Missouri went through last year. Brady Cook the year prior was banged up and never got into a rhythm and was okay, but just had to gut through some things. Now, obviously, he didn't have the same high profile coming out of high school from a recruiting standpoint, but he turned into an elite quarterback. And, I think that opportunity is there for Texas A&M. I really do. And I think, Mike Elko has the support to hit the ground running. So and unless you have major warts, you could use that label about a lot of different SEC teams, and you should be able to, right? Because those teams have everybody has the resources to be where you need to be. It's just, have you been disappointing? Have you built it the right way, or are you scrambling to catch up? And I think Mike's going to hit the ground running.
Tom, I appreciate you, sir. Thanks so much for making time. We'll talk to you soon.
Enjoy the time zone out there.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
See it.
I'm so tired. Woke up at 3:50. Thanks, man. All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back with some text messages on TexAgs Radio, and then we'll talk to Billy Liucci for the remainder of the program. Right now, though, let's talk about QC Kinetics. If you're not able to enjoy the summer because your joint pain, if it's in your knees, your back, your hips, wherever it may be, maybe your shoulders, you should really consider going and calling QC Kinetics up because they've got different ideas for you that you probably haven't been thinking about. Don't suffer any longer. Non-surgical joint pain relief is here, and QC Kinetics is the way to do it in the Brazos Valley. They're the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. I'm talking about lasting joint pain relief with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime, and their advanced treatments harness your body's own ability to restore and repair that damaged tissue. It's what it's all about. So you can go out there and play golf again. You can go hiking. You can go biking. You can throw the football with your family. You can climb some trees. Whatever you're into, QC Kinetics wants to make you live again, move again, pain-free. Their advanced protocols have enabled tens of thousands of patients to reclaim their mobility. So stop putting it off. Take action now and live your best life moving forward. It is QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. That's 979-452-6000. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. We'll have Billy here in about, I don't know, 7-8 minutes or so. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Carson, I want you to read that 713-906 text out loud, please.
Yes, sir. So the text says, stop with the what if stuff. Out of 299 D1 universities, I was watching my university play for the championship last night. There's only one other university that can say that. I'm so proud of the Aggie baseball team and staff.
Okay, who did what ifs?
I couldn't tell you who did
Carson,
the what ifs, not me.
Carson, did you do what ifs?
I didn't do any what ifs. I'm not a what if guy.
Nick, did you do what ifs?
I didn't, and I don't know if that text is directly, coming after anything anyone has said on here. Maybe just kind of throwing that in the open, but
yeah,
I don't know.
So a couple things. There is a what if to the story, but I also have clearly said that the legend of Caden Kent doesn't happen without what happened, right? Like, I know that's probably not phrased the way I wanted it to be phrased, but like the production you got from Caden Kent was Braden Montgomery-esque. Okay. Justin Lampkin pitched like a number 1 or number 2 starter, right? So there isn't a what if in that respect. But I would have loved to have seen us fully loaded. But I mean, they had a chance at the very end. You don't know how the series played. You don't know if Braden Montgomery is in right field against Florida, if he's able to make that catch, right? That Jace made. Maybe he does. We don't. Again, there's a lot of what ifs that are out there. But I live in the reality, and the reality of the situation is A&M was a play short of winning a national championship, which is infuriating and exciting all at the same time. Excited because, man, we're one of the best programs in baseball. There's no doubt about it. We're one of the top 5 programs in baseball, number 2 this year, hands down. It's infuriating because we were 9 outs away 2 days ago. We were an inning away yesterday, right? Like, it was so close. But very proud to have watched this team, to be associated with this team, to have been on the journey with them. All of us were, right? We were all part of it. Carson, what else?
We got another text saying, Coach Sloss has shown the type of program he can build the past few years, and it's something you can look forward to for the future of the baseball program.
I mean, 3 straight appearances to the playoffs, 2 out of the last 3 years in the College World Series. Finished Final Four 1 year, finished number 2 this year. I mean, trajectory's up, guys. And I hope they do it with the crew that they have, with Jace and Gavin and whatnot, and Justin Lampkin and Shane Sadeo and a lot of these great players. I hope that's who they do it with. But we're not going anywhere, right? We're part of this journey, however long it takes. And while other people can laugh, like, dude, you didn't do anything. You didn't hit one ball. Like, people who love to point and pick, you didn't hit one ball. You didn't make one catch. You just sat on your couch and watched. And that's part of the beauty of being a fan. And I don't change my loyalties because my team didn't have success. This is my team. I ride and die with them, right? And I know many of you do as well. Let's try to get 1 or 2 more in there, Carson.
There's something in the YouTube chat I wanted to bring by you. So a lot of our listeners are asking, what about Max Weiner? Why isn't Max Weiner getting more head coaching recognition? So kind of want to ask you, what do you think Max Weiner...
Why is he not getting more head coaching recognition?
After the stellar job he's done this past year.
I don't know he's not, but he's got 1 year in college baseball, and he's a young man. I don't know. I think he's a future college baseball head coach. I do think so. Is that right now? Maybe somebody will reach out. Like, will an SEC program reach out? I think you've got to prove yourself a little bit more. What he did this year was historic, no doubt about it. And he's on the fast track to being it. But I mean, his name has been mentioned as being a head coach at some point for sure. 1 more, Carson.
We have one saying, thank you, Coach Sloss and company, the 2024 Aggie baseball team. You gave us a hell of a ride. I'm so proud.
We all are. We all are. And at 12:30, you can show how proud you are at Bluebell. I'm going to read this last one before we hit a break. Chris Cobb says, in the next 10 years, A&M will have won 3 titles in the SEC. Agree. Hell yeah, David. Hell yeah, guys. Let's do it. All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back with Billy Liucci on the program. I'm not even sure if he's back yet. We'll get him on the phone, though, and see what's up with Billy. Right now, FBS Appliance Time. Their team of experts are there to help you with the appliances that make your house a home, carrying the top brands that make your life easier with an appliance to fit any budget. They've been caring for Texas since 1988, and they want to be the place that you go to when you're looking for all of your appliances, because they have all the brands, the top ones, all of them, right? Bosch, they have an expert staff as well, and installers to guide you through your purchase, because they want to be your trusted appliance store. And their commitment to customer satisfaction is at the core of everything that they do. That's why they've assembled a heck of a team of trained sales professionals who are experts in the field. They also don't just offer sales. They offer expert installation carried out by skilled technicians. They are the best when it comes to getting it in your home. Visit any of their 8 showrooms across Texas, or find them online at factorybuilderstores.com. That is factorybuilderstores.com. It's FBS. Welcome back here to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go straight to the hotline. Billy Liucci joining us, TexAgs co-owner, executive editor here on the program. Billy, good morning.
What's happening, buddy?
Hey, man. Obviously, kind of a weird day. We reflect on an incredible season, unfortunately, that finished up a little short, but a season that really came down to the very last at bat, Billy.
Literally to the final at bat. It was, the first at bat was a Gavin Grahovic home run of that series. The last at bat was Tennessee, the final out of a 1-run game, tying run played, Tennessee celebrating on the infield. So quite literally wire to wire thriller. It's baseball. Anytime you lose a 1-run game, whether it's opening weekend or the final game of the College World Series, there's going to be a million different instances you can point at. You could do the same thing and go back to Saturday. That's for, Aggie fans to relive that, that pain for a while, but more importantly, it's for the players and coaches. I mean, that's baseball. It's how it is. It can rip your heart out, but for that to happen, you have to be really damn good. And that's what this baseball team went way beyond really damn good. They were magical, and they had magic right there to the bitter end. And all the messages I've gotten from friends around the country in the sports world and Aggies that would tell me, man, I never really, it was football players that didn't really ever get into baseball that are into it now. It's old roommates coming up here and sharing this experience with me, and people with old friends and family members and their parents or siblings. Like this team, I was telling the guys that last night. I was like, they were down. They kept saying they felt bad that they let the Aggie fans down. They just wanted it for them, and I was like, no, we wanted it for you guys. Whether it's us in the media, whether it's the fan base, like everybody wanted it for them. They wanted it for that coaching staff. They wanted it for those players. Yeah, it's been, for most of us an eternity since none of us have seen a title in the Big Three. We also haven't seen A&M play for one. And those guys, man, they galvanized and won the hearts and minds of this fan base like no team I've ever seen. And I don't throw that around lightly. I was telling a lot of them that last night. This is just, you guys let the fan base get to know you. There were so many great personalities on that team, so many high character kids. Their families are so, I'm just telling you, just wonderful parents, siblings, and they were just so appreciative to be on that ride. And I'm telling you, man, they wanted to do it for Texas A&M. And for that fan base, I hope everyone that's listening right now understands that. But that is truly what mattered most to them, were each other and that fan base, the 12th man. And they mean it when they say it. And so much of their disappointment was that, which is misguided because, man, I think they already know that as time goes on, they're going to realize that they were the most beloved and successful major Aggie sport in history. It was remarkable, the ride they went on. It sucks that it had to end 1 run short. And like I said, we could sit here, we'll talk more about it. I'll come on tomorrow. We'll relive some of this again, but just the 2 games worth really of just things that you could go back and go, if this, if that.
I think we lost both Billy and David again. Carson, back to me and you, it sounds like. We'll try to get them back here in a second, but you got any text messages for us or anything you want to get into? I know you had a note.
I did. So
that we saw
EA
on
college football.
All right, it's now time to end the day with double. It's caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We'll hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's, serving Aggie Land since 1984 with your favorite pizza and those world-famous pepperoni rolls. With a reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. One segment left, Billy. Before we were so abruptly cut off earlier, we were just kind of finishing up on the amazing season that it was. Only one team gets to hoist the trophy. A&M came so close. And one final thought on that, Billy, to kind of give you a little direction. I really it's not often, that I can be pessimistic. It was that last pitch. I believe that they were going to do it until it was over. This team gave me that kind of hope.
Yeah, it gave everybody hope. And it wasn't even hope. We knew they could do it. And even in losing, we still know they could do it. And you play that game again, you play that team 10 times, you play that team without Braden Montgomery, Shane Sadeo, you factor them into the mix. I mean, this team faced some, just devastating injuries, not just devastating injuries, but in terms of the timing of it as well. It wasn't just like, man, they had an injury, they had to regroup, and they had back-to-back injuries in a super freaking regional to their number 2 pitcher and a top 5 player in college baseball. Most teams fold in that instance. Maybe they get by Oregon. Oh, by the way, they were way down in both games, but way down in game 2. Maybe they get to Omaha. Maybe they win a game or two and you're really proud of them and you wonder what might have been. But this team showed they could beat the best team in the country. They did beat them once, and they were damn close to beating them not one other time, but 2 other times. Let's not forget they were 7 away from a World Series championship and double dipping the balls. They stood toe-to-toe with Tennessee on every level. We saw the end of series statistics. I was around a ton of Vol fans this week, and have nothing but great things to say. And I know somebody could text in and tell me about their experience. It was unsavory, and there's these Tennessee fans were awful to me or my friends or I get it. We all have them. Look no further than the Florida game. In game 1 on the A&M side, we all have them. But I'm just telling you, I was here a week, more than a week, 9 days, and ton of Aggies, ton of Tennessee fans. And this was the most fun college sports party I've ever been a part of. And by party, I mean in the bars, at the hotel lobbies, the send-offs, restaurants around town, at the stadium. It's cool. You go to dinner one night up here, Dave, and you're sitting there on the outside patio of a nice little Italian restaurant the night before the CWS finals, and it's the Burtons sitting at one table, the Schatts and the Montgomerys and their families, and it's just like the coolest event ever. And I just Tennessee fans were great. And last night, I ran into Tennessee players. I ran into Josh Heupel, ran into some friends of mine from Tennessee, ran into parents of Tennessee players and a jillion Tennessee fans, people from the volunteer athletic department. And they couldn't say enough great things about Aggies, the Aggie fans, and more importantly, the A&M baseball team. That was everything we hoped it would be, everything college baseball hoped it would be. It was the 2 best teams playing to the final out. I wish, like everybody does, that the Aggies were on the other side of that, but it doesn't change. Like what Fosh said, 20 years from now, I don't know if this is exactly how he said it. It was basically saying 20 years from now, the only thing that's not going to be sitting there is a trophy and rings. I say that. They might get rings for a runner-up. I don't know how college baseball works, but you get my point. That's right. The only thing that's missing. They don't get to say we were national champions, and that's still the ultimate goal. It's the ultimate goal for the head coach. It's the ultimate goal for these guys coming back, for the Texas A&M program, for all Aggie programs. But damn if that wasn't the coolest experience. that we've all been a part of. And, you know, if you're following A&M sports, if you're an Aggie, Nuño, you have no idea how many future Aggies listen to this show and follow TexAgs. It's the most, I don't think there's a more encouraging thing when the young people come up and tell you they listen every day or they're a fan of the podcast it's awesome. It's inspiring, and they all are going to remember the time they came to Omaha in 2024 and watched, you know, I don't want to say one name because I'll end up saying them all, but they watched the guys come within one run and win the national title. Pretty freaking epic.
Billy, I got to ask you about Richard's question and Schloss's answer at the end of the press conference about speculation about the Texas job. Just what do you think of Schloss's answer?
Yeah, first of all, I didn't think it was selfish of Richard. Slosh is my friend, and we don't agree on everything, and we agree on probably most things, but on that one, I didn't think it was selfish. Richard was also astute enough to check with me. Should I ask the question? And and I said, yeah, I think it was time. It had been brewing all day. There were a lot of people asking about it. I mean, a lot. Every single Aggie, the day of the game, and he doesn't owe that. To be asked that question in the build-up. No, I just thought it was an easy one. I think Richard meant it with respect, and he kind of delicately phrased it as best he could, but it's a tough question to answer. But if he didn't want it to be tough, it didn't have to be. And I think he just took it as disrespectful. I haven't talked to him about it, but I think he took it as disrespectful. I'm sure he would have his reasons why. I know it wasn't intended to be. But there was an opportunity there to answer that as emphatically or as tiptoeing around it as he wanted to. I thought he was pretty emphatic. Didn't say, I'm staying. I will be the coach at Texas A&M next year. I'm not leaving. He might have felt like he didn't need to. That's what you don't know when they answer a question like that. He might have felt like, I don't even want to dignify that with a response. And that was kind of his tone. And I know what he said was true. He's very emotional about this place. He did leave his family in Fort Worth. He did, I think it still is a sore spot with him that he left TCU, a place he'd been for 17 years, not because he hasn't had an incredible experience here, but I think that, that hurts. When you opt to leave a place like that, I'm sure that was the toughest professional decision of his life. So yeah, there's a lot of emotion in that answer. Me personally, I would love to have heard him say, I'm not going anywhere. But I do think you have to pay attention. Like I've been paying attention, guys, for 2 months, and I've been tiptoeing around this thing because out of respect for these players, and that's part of why I thought it needed to be asked, because the Texas people have run with it. And it leaked from their end that they, the day Jim Schlossnagle, 30 whatever years into his career, is playing for a national freaking championship. And if Del Conte's targeting him and or Tony Vitello, for that to leak that day, I did think it was so typical of Texas. It surprised no one. They can pretend it leaked, and CDC can pretend that it was, a regent or someone that did it. That's kind of been the talking point coming out. You can do that all day, but why does this always seem to happen with Texas? Always. And so it was clearly calculated. If he's looking to hire either of these two guys, what an awful decision to make if you're hiring them in the next few days. But in terms of Slosh, yeah, I think it was out there all day, and it's been hanging out there for weeks. I understand not addressing two things. You don't address anything like that while David Pierce is the coach there. That would be absolutely ridiculous. People were asking if they should ask it at some point during the week, and my thought was not no, but hell no. The guy has a job. You know what your answer is going to be, so why ask such a question in the build-up? But after the fact, it's like, yeah, man, like there are people in in a hotel room talking about it. There are players, their families. You don't think they see that? Did you confiscate their cell phones the day of the game? I mean, it was out there. And a lot of people, it's not a bad thing that everyone wants him to stay. It's not a bad thing that players, families, fans, people covering the team, everybody wants him to stay. That was a chance to say, I am. And if you pin me down today, I still think he is. But that was a chance to kind of hammer it down. And I think if you asked him, he might describe it as that he did hammer it down. There were a couple things he said in there, but until it's completely squashed, it's just going to hang out there. And they're out recruiting. They've been recruiting. They're absolutely hammering recruiting in the portal right now, not just Slosh, but the entire staff. They've been doing it for the last couple, throughout this postseason. One of the things about the postseason that sucks, the longer you go, the more the longer you go, the more of a head start the teams that aren't there get on you in the portal and stuff. But every action they've had is like of a group that's ready to win next year. And there's also been some words that go along with that, plenty of words that go along with that too. Not from behind a microphone and a presser, but I'm proud of Richard. That, I told him that last night. That was not easy. A lot of people in the media told him that. There are a lot of people that wouldn't ask that question. And for those Aggies that say, I get it. The head coach got mad. You guys don't want that. You also always want a tough question. If I had a nickel for every time I'm told that, and that was not an attack on Jim at all. It wasn't, why do you guys suck? Why can't you call a play? When are you going to give up your offense? That was a fair question. The timing was going to suck no matter what, or no one was ever going to ask it. He was going to, we weren't going to be talking about that today, and those rumors would still be swirling without any type of addressing by the head coach. So anyway, that was not fun for Richard, but he did it. And the last thing I want to see are people on our message boards. I mean, you don't have to agree with it. I'm not saying that. Everybody has their own opinion. And I was really on the fence, sitting in there. Like, man, some of the answers Slosh gave led me to say, maybe don't ask that right now. But, we did. And I say we, because he wouldn't have done that without me. But I thought it wasn't fun for him. But, man, don't let me read that crap on our own website. Be better. Like, this has been an amazing week. Slosh was literally right after, probably the toughest loss of his career. And if he felt disrespected by it, then that's how he felt. That's how he felt. But it doesn't mean anybody did anything wrong. Actually, what Richard did was right. And that's that. As far as I'm concerned, I don't want to read another thing about it. In terms of, you read about it, but in terms of people coming after a guy that has done nothing but represent TexAgs the way it should be, just drop that crap right now.
Billy, thank you, buddy. I'm sure we'll be talking later on this week. I appreciate your time, bud.
All right.
That's Billy Liucci. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We went a little long on the stream. We'll see you mañana.